The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Money is a strange thing. It has the power to make us happy and successful, or miserable and bankrupt. It's an interesting topic to think about, and one that can teach us a lot about ourselves. Morgan Housel is a partner at Collaborate Fund and the author of several books, including The Psychology of Money. In this book, Housel provides readers with insight and advice on how to better understand and manage their finances. Morgan Housel explores the psychology of money. He looks at the different ways we think about it and how our thoughts and feelings about money can affect our lives. It's an interesting video and one that will give you a new perspective on one of the most important things in our lives. And you might learn something about yourself in the process. Keep watching the video. Before we go ahead, please subscribe to Financial Freedom and hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Let's get started. The mental models of money. It's helpful to think of money as a series of mental models. That way, you can better understand your own relationship with it and make better decisions about what to do with it. Some people think of it as a physical object that can be counted and stored in the bank vault. Others think of it as a score, constantly keeping track of how much money they have and how much they owe. Still others think of it as a commodity, something that can be bought and sold on the open market. Which mental model you use has a big impact on your financial behavior. If you think of money as a physical object, you're more likely to save it. If you think of it as a score, you're more likely to spend it. And if you think of it as a commodity, you're more likely to invest it. Your mental model of money is also shaped by your culture and upbringing. So there's no right or wrong way to think about money. It's simply important to be aware of the different ways that other people view it. Why economics mindsets shortchange us? You might be wondering why economics is in quotes. That's because the field of economics doesn't really have anything to do with money. Rather, it's the study of how people use and exchange goods and services. It's a fascinating field, but it has a big blind spot. It doesn't account for the psychology of money. When you're thinking about money, you're not just thinking about cold, hard facts. You're also influenced by our emotions, instincts, and biases. That's why it's important to understand the psychology of money. Because if you don't, your economic mindset will shortchange you. The psychology of short and long time horizons. We all have different time horizons. Some people think short term, others think long term. When it comes to psychology of money, one of the most important concepts to understand is the difference between short-term and long-term time horizons. People with the short-term time horizon are motivated by immediate gratification. They live in the present and are primarily concerned with what's happening right now. This can be a dangerous mindset when it comes to money, because these people are more likely to make rash decisions that can lead to financial ruin. People with long-term time horizon, on the other hand, are motivated by delayed gratification. They're more interested in what will happen down the road, and they're more likely to make rational decisions that will lead to long-term financial stability. Both approaches have their advantages and disadvantages. The short-term thinker might make more money in the short run, but they're also more likely to lose it all. The long-term thinker might not make as such money in the short run, but they're less likely to lose everything they have saved. Which mindset is better? That's up for debate. But it's important to understand the difference between the two, so you can make informed financial decisions based on your own personal goals and values. The natural level of spending and the pricing of life's necessities. You might not realize it, but the amount of money you spend each month is largely determined by psychology. It's known as the natural level of spending. What's happened in that over time? We've developed a psychological aversion to loss, and the aversion to loss is what drives our spending. When we see something that we need, our first instinct is to buy it. And this is especially true for things that we see as necessities. Why? Because we don't want to lose out on the chance to have those things. We don't want to miss out on the opportunity to have a better life. But the problem is that our natural level of spending is often higher than what's actually necessary. We often spend more than we need to on things that we don't really need. Think about it like this. If your neighbor buys a new car, you're not going to want to be seen driving an older beater. You start to feel like you need to upgrade your own vehicle. Or, let's say your friends all go on a luxury vacation. You're not going to want to be the only person stuck at home. So you'll feel pressure to book a trip of your own. Of course, there are something that you can control, like the cost of basic necessities, like food and housing. But even these costs can be relative. For example, if everyone around you is eating out at restaurants all the time, it's going to make cooking at home seems like a chore. And if the average price of rent in your city is high, you feel pressure to spend more on housing than you would if you live somewhere with the lower cost of living. Financial regulation and its effect on investor behavior. You might not know this, but the way financial markets are regulated can have a big impact on the investor behavior. For example, let's say there is a new regulation that requires all investors to hold a stock for at least a year before selling it. The regulation would likely encourage investors to think more long-term, since they wouldn't be able to cash out as quickly. Or what if there was a regulation that banned short selling? That would discourage investors from betting against stocks and would likely lead to more bullish behavior overall. The point is, financial regulations can have a big impact on how people invest. And while some regulations are good, like the one that requires investors to think long-term, others can be bad, like the one that bans short selling. Impulse control, self-control, and investment success. When it comes to money, self-control is key. You need to be able to resist the urge to spend money on things you don't need. And you need to be patient enough to wait for investment to pay off. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Self-control is one of the most important predictors of investment success. People who can control their impulses and emotions tend to make more money in the stock market than those who can't. Why? Because they're better able to resist the urge to sell when the market is crashing, and they're better able to hold on to their investments for a long term. So if you want to be a successful investor, work on improving your self-control. It'll pay off in the end. Conclusion. When it comes to our relationship with money, Morgan Housel has something interesting insights to share. For one, he points out that most of us view money through the lens of scarcity. We think there's never enough of it, and that's led to a lot of negative consequences. Housel also talks about our fear of loss and how it motivates us to hoard money. He urges that if we can change our mindset and start viewing money as a tool that can help us achieve our goals, we'll be a lot better off. It's clear that our relationship with money is complicated, and there's no one-size-fits-all solutions. But if we start to change our attitude and approach money in a more positive way, we'll be on the right track. We hope this video has been helpful. If you enjoyed the video, then hit the like button and consider subscribing to Financial Freedom. And if you have any questions or suggestions, leave it in the comment section. Thanks for watching. See you in next video.